Hello everyone! If you want to get more organized to stay on top of your studies and you're looking for some kind of tools or systems to help you with that, or if you just found this awesome tool called Notion and you are looking for some guide to help you get into that very easily, this video today is for you because we will be building a simple dashboard for keeping track of your studies from scratch. We cover quite a lot of ground, so if you want to skip around, use the timeline tags below, but of course it will be appreciated if you watch the whole video. So now, without further ado, let's get straight into it. Okay, starting with a new screen, we will not be using any of these buttons because that would limit our ability to customize the dashboard somewhat. So the very first, let's make it full width so we have enough space for everything. And now let's just use this command to create inline. We're gonna create an inline database. We can name this, for example, school stuff, because here we will start with a very simple database that will take very little time to create, which I think is great if you're starting with Notion, so that you don't get overwhelmed while still getting what you need done, so that you will still stay on top of your notes and be able to categorize them however you want. So let's start by creating some notes we might be taking. So one of them could be something like homework, and here let's rename this property to course and change multi-select, which allows multiple options to be selected, to just select, because it will only ever belong to one course. And maybe for me the course might be research methodology, and because it's homework, maybe I also want to know that the type is task. Let's make it green, for example. And then maybe I also took some lecture notes from course self-regulated learning. We also have that. And these here, the type might be notes. Now that I created, it's much easier to create some new tasks for that, new select options. Maybe I also want to know that there's an exam coming up, and probably it's also for self-regulated learning course, but the type is exam. And maybe for the exam I also want to know due date, so we will select this date property here, and let's name it. A lot of people use due, but due and due can get confusing, so I prefer to just name it deadline. And let's say we have an exam on Wednesday, so I guess let's create this, and maybe the homework needs to be done by next Sunday. And because we have tasks here, we also might want to know when the task is done. Here. So this would be a very easy start for you. No fancy properties, but still you will be very easily able to see what course anything belongs to, what kind of node or stuff it is. Here you can just open it and start writing whatever you need to write. And create a toggle. And there you go. World, not word. So this would be the easiest level. Let's call it level 1. However, if you want to progress to a bit more complex work with Notion and you want to make the most out of Notion, you might want to use something which is called related databases. And with related databases, we're moving to the level 2 of difficulty. And I would say the main advantages of databases is first that databases, they live on. You know, you can use here, if we created research methodology and self-regulated learning options, these options will not be visible in any other databases we might create. But if we instead create a related database with course and create these as items in that database, then we will be able to use these items anywhere else. And we can also create some extra properties for each database. We can use some automation features. So in general, if you're willing to put in a bit extra work and learn a bit extra about Notion, then I think level 2 is for you. So let's look at how we would go about doing that. First, let's rename this database, or you know what, let's leave this here and let's create a new database which would be called, first we will create a database with these courses. And so first would be research methodology, the other one would be self-regulated learning, third one might be we have stuff like that. So now we have 3 courses, and with courses maybe we want to know whether they are summer semester or spring semester or winter semester. So just, or actually autumn. And maybe we want to know how important the course is. Or maybe let's create it like this, something like credits. And we could do a select, but you already know how selects works. So let's create here, number. Let's create that. Maybe this one is for 5, maybe this one is for 3, and this one might be for 10, I don't know. We can shrink this a bit, and maybe we want to know also how difficult each course is. Ah, this is actually quite nice. Let me just change this to red and now let's leave this like this. Okay, now we have a database with courses. Now we can create another database and call that database tasks. And here maybe one would be homework, the homework for research methodology that we created earlier. So instead of tasks, we will make this property into a relation, and we will use this courses database. Yeah, that's it. And yeah, we need to rename it to course. Now, when I click here, I can select from this database that we created just before, and this one was research methodology, so it's created here. And you can see that already here is another property called related to tasks. We might just rename it to tasks, which is showing us that, yeah, you actually have some related courses existing in this task database. And maybe let's create a study for exam, and that one would be self-regulated learning course. Okay, and what else might we want to know about tasks? Well, maybe we want to know what state they are in. That can be useful. So are they in backlog, so kind of like waiting for us to start? Are we already doing them, or is it waiting for someone else? Let's say we have a task. So that might be waiting for any, and let's assign it to this. It will be waiting. The last property would be again done, so that we get to feel that rush of dopamine when we tick off the checkbox. It's always nice. And maybe also deadline again. So date, deadline. Maybe only one of these has a deadline. Or you know what, this one also has a deadline, so that we remember to tell Annie that we're waiting for her. Okay, last, I told you about some automation options that we get when we start using related databases. Well, maybe for each of the tasks, we want to know how difficult is the course that it's contained in. So now that we have a related database, we can create this roll-up property. We won't get into too much detail, but when talking about related databases, I think roll-ups deserve to be mentioned, since they're one of the more powerful options you unlock. So here, first we need to say configure rollup, select an existing relation. Right now we only have this one. It's only related to the courses database, so of course we're going to select that one. And here, select property that you want to have shown. It's difficulty, and see, now it's already showing, each of these tasks is showing the difficulty of the course that it belongs to. So that's nice, and you can play around with that and create a lot of views and information dashboards with it. So that's one of the more powerful features for using separate databases. And you know, last, because we still don't have a database for notes, that would be this one. And let's again create a related database, or rather relate this to the courses. And again, maybe lecture notes belong to emerging technologies. And maybe with notes, we also want to know what state the note is in. But here, another powerful, or not so powerful, but definitely useful feature of having separate databases, instead of keeping both our notes and our tasks in this one shared database, we can, by splitting it, we can have the same property, state and state, but create separate options for each of these. So for example, here it could be like quick capture, or another option might be, I don't know, references added, or maybe it's something like finished. Okay, let's jump a bit ahead so that you don't have to sit through me creating the properties that you already know how to create, like here archived, type. Those are simple properties, you won't have any problems with that. And I also created this energy required property here, also a simple select. And with that, we wrap up the level 2 of difficulty using related databases instead of just like one big database with lots of properties. We're creating 3 separate databases and using the relations between them to unlock some more advanced functions of Notion. And now let's move to the final phase, level 3, where we try to make this whole dashboard a bit prettier, a bit clearer, and also look at some nifty tips and tricks so that you can make the most of it. Okay, first let's try to make this dashboard a bit compact. If we wanted, for example, to have these notes database and task databases next to each other, we cannot really do that just now. As you can see, if I drag in here, it does not allow us to just move them next to each other. So what we need to do is use a little trick which employs headings. So let's create a heading for tasks and a heading for notes. And with headings, you can actually, if you drag them all the way to right, you can create these 2 columns. So what we can do now is drag the database nodes under the heading, and if you see this half width blue line, that means it will only show up in this column. And do the same for tasks. And probably we won't be using the courses that much, so we can use that lower. And maybe to give it a bit more color, Notion recently added the option to make whole headings into toggles. Toggles allow you to hide what's inside of them, and with that we can drop these databases into these toggles. So now we can hide them, but in this case the big reason why I'm doing it is that I want to change the color of the whole database to green, the background. See, and now it's pretty green, and nodes can be, for example, blue. And now you see I have this heading and also the name of the database, so that's redundant. So now we can use here layout and just hide the database title, which is also a new feature. That allows us to make everything just a bit more compact. And maybe with these courses we would prefer to, well, actually I don't need to do this. I can just change table, go here, layout, and change it into a gallery view. And maybe we would want research methodology to have, well, let's just use random covers. Of course, it would be best to use something that actually resembles whatever the note is about, so that it allows your visual recognition. And here, so that we can see it, let's create here card preview. Instead of content, we will have page cover. Now we see in the gallery these pretty covers of it. So that makes it just a little bit more pretty. And maybe we also want to see how difficult the courses are. So we click this and now we can see. Okay, so this is it for the simple layout, so that you can see it just a bit better. And let's look just very fast to filters. Here we can rename this view to unfiltered. And now we will use a new view, which will also be a table. And let's make it doing, and here we can set up a filter where state is doing or waiting, and where done is unchecked. So maybe let's move this here. Course difficulty, we can make this a bit smaller. Oops. And we can decrease the title of checkboxes all the way here. State, we can move also here. Now, if we check this done checkbox, it will disappear from this view, because here we only want to see these unchecked tasks. So if I do this, it's gone. So here you could only use it for tasks that remain to be done. And if you want to see it all, here you will see all the tasks, because that's the unfiltered view. And if you want, you can create similar views for your notes, but I'm sure you will be able to figure out how to do that now. So let's go to a more useful and a very powerful tool that will be helpful for staying on top of your notes. And that is actually Notion Web Clipper. If you just Google Notion Web Clipper, you should find this page very easily. So here, just scroll down, select whatever browser you have. I am using Brave, which is kind of the same as Chrome, as you can see. Because I already have it, it offers remove from Brave, so I will not be doing that. But if you did that, you will get this Notion icon on top of your plugins bar, and then you can use it to save anything you find online. So let's say this is like a very interesting article from Scott Young, very recommended blog for students. 5 scientific steps to ace your next exam. Looks like something very much worth storing. So let's click our Notion Web Clipper. And now we've got this little pop-up. We can edit the name we want to save it under, and here personal workspace. And it's possible here you'd have a different database selected. So you need to select the database that you want to save whatever you're saving to. For me, that's the notes database in the Stay on Top of School from scratch. So I will just leave that here. Click Save Page. And now I can either click Open in Notion, which will open this new browser tab with Notion, because you can also use Notion in browser, but I actually prefer to use the desktop version. And here you can already see that it's stored here. And you can see if we make these a bit smaller, you can see that automatically here a URL property was created with a link to where we saved the article from. So you don't need to worry, you don't need to create the URL property first. And now, as you can see from this icon that appeared here, already it's stored here, including all the text that we saw on the original page. And now we can use everything we like. We can start using highlighting. Yeah, let's make this blue, because why not? And you could state, mark as quick capture, type is extra resources. If you wanted it archived, you could archive it. Course, this could be, I guess, whatever, self-regulated learning. So that's a very convenient way to store whatever you find on the interwebs into your database. And with that, we are done here. We now have our simple dashboard for staying on top of our school projects. We have tasks, notes, courses. All the databases are linked. Well, tasks and notes are not linked, but you would be able to figure it out if you needed to. And we can easily store whatever we find to get all the resources in one place. So that's it for today. If you're feeling a bit lazy, you can download the template with what we just created down below. But I do encourage you to try and create this on your own, so that you start learning a bit more about Notion, how it works, so that you can then use this knowledge to create your own dashboards. And if you haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe. If you like this, let me know what you think, and I will see you back next time.